Always appreciate a visit from Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio. Every Tuesday on Halftime, Bill hosts 6 to 9, Monday through Friday, WNSR out of Nashville. He is the king of college football talk. Bill, good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. Get to see a poll later on today. How are you?
Yeah, I probably won't be watching, but I want to see the arrangement. I think there will be some clues, some hints as to their thinking. I think they're already trying to hint us that there's going to be 8 teams, 4 and 4 from the SEC and the Big Ten.
Bill, I'm right on there with you. 4 teams. I don't see any way that 4 SEC teams are not in. And then I think Miami is the biggest fugazi, so to speak. I don't think Miami can beat anybody.
Right, and if SMU wins out, I don't think Miami gets in, probably, if they go head-to-head. So, going to be interesting. There's going to be some 10-2s, maybe up on Rocky Top about 3 hours from me. They've only got 1 loss, but I think they'll probably lose Saturday in Athens. And I'm not sure they get in at 10-2, which will be interesting because I live there. I'll have to hear about it.
Is the biggest story that nobody's talking about SMU's NIL money? Because is Rhett Lashley going to be the next big-time coaches somewhere? Because they just made a jump for conference and what they're doing. It has to go noticed, right?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time this summer on it. If you go by ingredients that I think are vital to win big, and that would be geographical advantage, location, they've got that, and then some, and resources. And in this day and age, that would be cash-flowing players. They're as good as anybody. They raised $120 million to join the ACC and not get paid by the ACC until 3 or 4 years into the deal. That's serious commitment. I have people hit me up about crowds. They've got a small Vanderbilt type stadium. That doesn't mean anything. Crowd at a game does not broadcast your prowess. It might be a good advantage, but that is a vastly overrated symptom of how good you are as a football team. They can win big there. Now, can somebody scoop them up for a lot more money? Maybe. But that's a place where you can win. You can be one of the newcomers that win big. Here's the other thing, guys. It's almost impossible to join a league and win it your first year. We've got 4 teams, Oregon, Texas, BYU, and you just mentioned SMU, who can all do it this year. Last team to do it was Florida State in '92.
They got to throw Colorado in there as well. I mean, you could end up with a BYU-Colorado matchup in the Big 12 championship game. In fact, you probably will find that.
Correct. Correct.
And on the other end of NIL, one that we have been talking about from the start, and they were doing NIL before that was even legal, and this is what's brought them to where they are. It's Ole Miss. The fact that Ole Miss is positioned where they are right now. Historically, not a program that should be contending the way that they are this year, and maybe will be into the future as long as NIL continues to be a driving force. But when I watch that team right now, I think to myself, that's the best team money can buy right now because they brought in a bunch of guys around the SEC. I know other places too, but it felt to me like they rebuilt that defense through other teams in the SEC, and they dominated against Georgia.
I've said since probably February, maybe January, this is the best Ole Miss roster of my lifetime. And they lost a couple of games. That happens. That might happen to anybody. But they are equipped to go head-to-head against any team in the country. You just saw it. They, man for man, are not outmanned by any team in the country.
Bill, I agree with you. I want to ask you one thing, and I know it's way too early. It's like me asking you who you think is going to be in the Final Four in basketball. It's way too early. I got Ole Miss winning the national championship this year. Who do you have right now? Who do you think wins the national championship?
Well, I had Alabama and Georgia. So I don't know.
Two good picks? That's two good picks.
And maybe.
They're both going to get in.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think I'm more unclear about that right now than ever before.
Is Oregon for real? I guess what I'm trying to ask is anybody outside of the SEC for real? Like, who would you buy into that's not an SEC team? Because I don't buy into anybody that's not an SEC team.
I think Ohio State would beat Oregon if when they're not in Eugene, if that has to happen, if that matchup occurs again. And I like Oregon. Do I think they're going to win it all? Probably not. I think Ole Miss is equipped. They're the most dominant part of their team is their defensive front, and they're starting to really blossom offensively without their receiver star Trey Harris. And Dart's playing well. Heck, Dart goes in the tent. He's limping around. You don't know what's going on. Next thing you know, in the second half, he's running down the field, taking on tacklers. It's amazing. They're well coached. I just when you are not historically branded, it's tough for me to have Ole Miss winning it all. But that would not be an upset. Let me put it that way. That would not be a shocker if you're going by personnel.
Arkansas and Texas on Saturday, Bill. It's a resumption of a historic rivalry. You know, they haven't been in the same league for a little over 30 years. Texas comes in, obviously, a huge favorite. I think I didn't look at it today, but yesterday was 14.5 points. My question, though, isn't really about the game necessarily. It's looking to the end of the season with Texas. Let's just say that Texas wins this game on Saturday, but they lose to A&M. And in that case, their best win is Vanderbilt, which would be the same thing you'd say about Missouri. If Texas does not beat every team that's left on the schedule, do they get left out of the playoff 12?
They've got 2 losses, Georgia and A&M is what you're saying, right?
That would be correct.
I think that Greg Sankey would threaten the committee with bodily harm before that happens. Publicly, at a podium, like you're talking about warring with another nation.
Yeah. But in your opinion in that, so my opinion would be, look, I think Vandy is a great story and everything, but that can't be the best win you have to go into the playoff 12. If I was a committee member and Sankey texted me and threatened me bodily harm, I might come at him with some facts.
I mean, I'm with you. I just don't see that happening. Now, if we're going to get 4 in the SEC, like I said, is that A&M, Texas, Georgia, Bama? Well, I just Ole Miss has got to be in. Ole Miss is definitely in. So I'm not sure. There's going to be 2 to 3 SEC teams after that last release who are going to be as mad, if not madder, than Florida State getting left out last year.
Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia, and either Texas or Texas A&M, those are 100% in. That's your 4. Like, you're getting 4 of those 5 teams right there. I think those 4 teams.
I would think, and Tennessee's going to be upset.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I don't think they're getting in at 10-2, and I just don't. I don't. But tonight, that release, I think
there's no way, Bill. There's no way. You think a team in the SEC goes 10-2, it doesn't get in the playoff 12? I just think they. I think the committee let them in.
But that opens up something I brought up yesterday, and I wonder if this could actually happen. We've talked so much about there'll be 3 or 4 SEC teams. What about this math? 1 Big 12 team, 1 ACC team, Notre Dame, 5 SEC, 4 Big 10. That's 12. Is that? Do you think that's legitimate, Bill? Is this a world where you could actually think you could get 5 teams in? Because I think it could happen.
I'm going to tell you it's possible. I would give you about 30% odds on that, but it is absolutely possible. And what we don't know, guys, is how convoluted are these last couple of 3 weeks going to be? We don't. We can claim to know, but there's a whole lot of different ways this could go, which we just don't know about yet. An unforeseen loss somewhere. But I think 5 is, let me put it this way, that's your ultimate number. I was debating 3 and 4 early in the season. Now it's clear to me that the Big Ten and the SEC is likely going to have a rule in place, which isn't in place right now, that says they get in 4. Bare minimum.
Minimum, yes. That's kind of felt like that was the direction that this thing was going in. That if you get to a place where the Big Ten and the SEC have the playoff the way that they want it, I think you're going to probably push to 14 teams, but then you'll have they're even talking about like automatic bids out of the SEC, maybe based on the standings or something, but it's like the floor would be 4 teams. Now we're talking about exactly what we've been talking about. 2 power leagues, 2 leagues that are a little bit below the power leagues, and then everybody else.
9 out of 12. That'd be hilarious. At least, 9 out of 12. That would be, man, the rest of the country will go nuclear, which is fine. We're used to it.
All right, Arkansas versus Texas, 14.5-point spread. Do you see any possibility the Hogs can pull off the upset? Because they've upset a top 5 team at home already this year that wears orange and has a Power T logo.
First thing I wanted to see is that game at night. That's what I wanted to see. Is it possible that it's a competitive, hard-fought matchup? Absolutely. Do I think Arkansas wins that game? No. Not based on personnel. And I don't – remember Arkansas in the past has been able to bully them? Not maybe recent, but in recent games, you can't do that to this Texas team. Maybe Georgia did, but I just don't see that happen.
All right, now give me your reasoning why you got Georgia over Tennessee. Is Yama Leava going to be able to play? And then on the other side of things, what is going on with Carson? He already has twice the amount of interceptions from last year. Completion percentage way down. He's fallen off the cliff in terms of where his draft stock is. What's going on with him?
He is slinging the ball. Let's just begin with mechanics. He is taking the snap, and immediately he is in fear for his life. They're not playing well at tackle. The left side of their line of scrimmage on offense is not playing well. And they do not have the playmakers that can bail out quarterbacks like they've had in the past. And so it's a myriad of things, but his confidence is absolutely shaken. You can see it in his body language. You can see it in his face. He is a nervous wreck out there. He's scared to read his route tree, doing the best he can do, and he's not playing well. Guys, I think those 12 interceptions are in the last 6 games. It's bad. And Tennessee's defensive front's as stout as anybody's. Now, I still think Georgia wins that game. Kirby Smart off a loss at home, and you cannot lose another game. I just can't bet against him in that matchup. I just can't. Nico Iamaleava, they say was taken out of the game, did not play in the second half out of precaution. It's somewhat of an upper body, whether that's collarbone or slight concussion. They're not saying. I assume he's playing. If not, they may not score. So
wow.
That's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Bill, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time. Always appreciate this.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bill.
It's Bill King, Nashville Sports Radio, with us every Tuesday on Halftime.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here.